Ah, geez, really? It's these guys again? Yes, we're back. And unfortunately for y'all who are still paying attention, we still suck. In fact, we probably suck worse than we did last week when we really, really, really sucked. Like the suckage meter on the show continues to increase at an astronomical rate. Kind of inverse to Arsenal's league position. I know, cheap shot. That's right, folks. It is the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. And if you haven't tuned out already, what's wrong with you? I'm Mike. I'm joined, as always, by my trusty partner in crime, Mr. Stead. How you doing this week?
I'm doing all right. Considering the circumstances. I know that last show we concluded with Sean hoping that it wasn't going to be another disaster, and sadly, it was. But other than that, we're doing okay. We're doing okay.
Yes, but the Wolf picked up their biggest upset in who knows how long, going into Pittsburgh and beating the unbeaten Steelers today.
Hey, I got my football team jersey coming. Can't wait, boy. Football team.
I'm telling you, I'm going to keep banging on this until they do it. I want them to change the name ever so slightly so it's the Washington Team of Football. That way the initials on the screen can read WTF. That's what I think of this team. And we are joined, as always, by our faithful colleague from across the pond. I normally call him London Sean, but given how he looks this morning, I'm probably going to refer to him as Eskimo Sean. Mm-hmm. Sean, I take it that it is a balmy late fall, early winter morning in beautiful England, given how you're like bundled up like it's -30.
Yeah, well, I just went outside to have a cigarette, and when I blew out the smoke, it turned into ice. So that's how bad it is here. Having said all of that, although, as you can see, I'm suitably attired for the cold weather, if Tottenham keep on winning, I'm going to keep on putting on more layers, basically, until hopefully no one can see me underneath it all. Because the way it's going, it's not going to be a happy Christmas. Certainly won't be a Merry Christmas if they're on top, I can tell you that much.
If things don't change quickly, we may have to cancel Christmas.
We may. True. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, you know, am I not right in saying, so I know I'm sort of jumping a little bit ahead, but do Liverpool play Tottenham soon?
Yes, I believe so.
Good.
I don't have the schedule up in front of me at the moment, but I do believe that is coming up. And that'll be a fine conversation because that gives us an excuse to have British Will and Los on to do battle, and it's always entertaining. But before we get started talking about things that happened in England and on the pitch, last week we spent the first part of our show remembering Diego Maradona, but he was not the only soccer star who passed on last week. And this Friday, Senegalese legend Papa Bouba Diop was buried in his native Dakar, and we wanted to bring on our good friend Hadji to talk about him because I have fond memories of him from 2002. The Wardrobe scoring that legendary goal, the Wardrobe as he was affectionately known. I'm going to imagine because of his size, he was quite a large individual, Stead. About 6'5", built like brick house. I remember Paul Scholes saying, if you try and get physical with him, you're just wasting your time. But he scored that legendary goal that against the then defending champion French in a 1-0 victory for Senegal, who go on to the quarterfinals that year, their best World Cup performance. And the celebrations were the stuff of legends. He took the shirt off and the team all danced around it. Just some the type of unbridled joy that you can only see in the World Cup. El Hadji, I know that if you recall that had to be a good time for you, and probably one of the good memories that you have of Papa Bouba Diop. But we welcome you on to the show, and give us your thoughts on the big man. There you go.
Yeah,
You're on.
I was muted there. You know,
I was doing three things there. I'm sorry, my brother.
that is right. You know, you put it so well, Mike. You know, and yes, you're right. That wasn't on Diego Maradona. I mean, I was really sad about Diego Maradona passing. He's a legend, but as far as we Senegal is concerned, he was more than a Diego Maradona to us. I mean, it transcended, like, just soccer. That victory meant a lot to us, and to whole Africa. I mean, it's just like the guy who colonized us, the colony, it's like, Senegal being a French colony. It was like, okay, let's stick it to them this time, And to tell you the truth, we Senegalese, we never believed that France would beat us. We knew at least we were gonna go with a draw. Everybody knew that, But that day, is to tell you like how big that day is. Let me show you something here. This is on my wall. It's been here on my wall, on my office, since. This is how much it meant to us. And you know who scored that goal? Papa. So I have goosebumps, just like, thinking about that day. And, his passing, it's really sad for us right now. We've been mourning. So like, you could have seen the videos, like thousands and thousands and thousands of people line up the street, really sobbing, because he's our legend. And the president actually bestowed like a medal of, it's like a medal of freedom here, the highest, medal that you can actually, earn in Senegal, just last week. And the new stadium, the museum of the new stadium, going to be named after him. So it's a sad day. It was a sad day, and it's going to be a sad month for for these Senegalese people. Yes, he was called the wardrobe. It's like huge guy, and light on his feet, and his character is just like, he's never that guy's that show. He was so humble, so polite, and everybody just all his teammates loved him. They were all crying. Henri Camara, Jude, all these 2002, squad, they couldn't console themselves. So, thank you for having me here. I mean, we in pain right now. It meant that goal meant too much to us.
That wasn't that team had that was the last, if I'm not mistaken, that was the last Senegal team before the 2018 team to make it to the World Cup. And there were some serious stars on that team. Alou Cissé, who I have talked about at length with you and on the pod as being a coach who I feel like is just massively underrated for the work that he's done with Senegal. Mm-hmm. El Hadji Diouf, who I don't know that he ever realized what he was at in the short time he was at Liverpool, but then later for Bolton and other teams in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. And of course, Papa Bouba Diop, who was arguably in if not in stature, but just kind of in terms of notoriety, his time at Fulham and later Portsmouth, he may have been one of the biggest of them all, just not physically, but just in the type of person, the respect that he commanded throughout the Premier League as a player. Sean, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he the captain of Fulham at one point for a little bit?
Yeah, he was. I had the pleasure of seeing him play at least 3 or 4 times. One of my very close mates lives right next door to Fulham. So whether there was a midweek game, we'd nip across and you could get right down to the very front, which was great. And he was a man mountain of a player. Just his physicality on the field was astounding. He was bigger than most other players, but he had a deft touch. He could play football. And of course, one thing lest we forget that Patrick Vieira decided to play for France, but he is also from Senegal, so they were around the same time. They could have had Papa Diop and Patrick Vieira central midfield. There would have been something.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. And to tell you, that generation of guys, the El Hadji Diouf, Henri Camara, Alun Cisse, there was Ferdinand Coley. They just like took the primership, in storm. And those guys, up to that point, 2002, if you go around Senegal, Dakar, you'll see jerseys like Zinedine Zidane, Kaka, all these Europeans, jersey. That's what youngsters, in Senegal was wearing. But from that day on, it's like everybody's wearing, Diouf's jersey, Ali Cisse's jersey, because they were proud of these boys. It's like, okay, we have our own start now. Why would we wear Zidane shirt? Why would we wear somebody else's jersey? From that day on, every street in Africa almost, they start wearing their own people's jersey. That's how, that generation set that one,
Yeah, that you also saw
dynamics,
Yeah, I would say that also you had a very limited number of African teams that seemed to qualify year in and year out. As far as what African teams were known outside of the diehard soccer fans, you had basically Nigeria and you had Cameroon, and that was kind of it. Yeah. They were sort of the darlings of African soccer, and then you saw that generation of players from Senegal was sort of the new team that came out in 2002. But if you've seen, even though they haven't qualified for the World Cup as often as maybe we expected after the 2002 Cup, they were always looked at as a competitive and dominant, relatively a team that could possibly dominate in various regions. So that wave that he was involved in was extraordinarily pivotal, just because you saw the variety and I know that a lot of the European clubs also were at this particular time were going, there is so much talent down in these areas. And I remember when I back at that time, I was picking up random soccer magazines, and they would be ranking the top 20 kids in the world under the age of 18, and so many of them were coming from that particular part of the world too. So you really saw this explosion in a way, and I felt like that team in particular with that win, I mean, that ranks up there with probably like the Nigeria win over Spain in '98. I know
Cameroon win over Argentina.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You could talk about the Zaire team back in the '70s that had all those issues. Went to the World Cup and lost like 105-0. So that was really exciting to see. And I know like we've talked, on this show we talk about the African Cup of Nations and stuff like that. And I know a lot of that wasn't talked about nearly to the extent that it is now with that wave of new players coming in. And now it's very exciting to watch. And now we can watch these games here probably easier than they can over in other countries. So
exactly. And that day, from that day on, that's when FIFA, saying, okay, you know what? Instead of like 3 teams, because we would only have 3 teams in the World Cup. Now that went from 3 to 5, and now they're going to increase it again. And I think 2 or 3 World Cup, that trophy is going back. It's going there, man. That going there.
There was the joke after.
I won't live to see that,
Yeah.
There was the great meme after the great social media post after the last World Cup, with all the French players, N'Golo Kante and Paul Pogba, and they were all holding the trophy, and they were all singing, and and the meme said, "Somebody tell me an African team hasn't won the World Cup."
Exactly,
but
yeah,
I think
that 15 African players
on
that French team.
But I think it'll be more, because I believe the next continent that's going to win a World Cup that is not South America or Europe is going to be Africa. Now, I mean, I'm not pushing it too far with that, because I just you got it. It's either Africa, Asia, or North America.
North America.
I don't think it's going to be North America, but I do think when you look at how much better the African teams are getting, because so many of their players are choosing to represent their home nation as opposed to a European country, and seeing the opportunities that you can still be successful, you can still move forward, you can still have a quality career in Europe and represent Senegal or Nigeria or Cameroon, and the quality of teams that these players are playing for, because they're getting these opportunities and then choosing to still represent their home nation. I just think that's where it's going to. I continue to see them being competitive. Certainly, for my money, at or near the top right now in Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa, especially, I think, is where it's really strong. Is Senegal. I've made no secret to you, El Hadji. I've made no secret to you, Stead. I've made no secret to you, Sean, that I really rate this team. I think that this coming opportunity in these next 2 years represent probably one of the best shots. You've got a Sadio Mane in his prime. Koulibaly's getting a little bit older. They've got the World Cup experience. They've got big tournament experience. They kind of just rampaged through qualification in the African Cup of Nations. I think that they have a shot of winning that trophy, bringing home Senegal's first major trophy in way too long, El Hadji.
Way too long. It's way overdue, man. It's way overdue. On paper, we always get the best, team out there, but we just always fell short, for tiny bit, but it's getting there. And I'm gonna go out there. The next 2 World Cup, not this one, but the next one, it's going back. It's going to Africa, man.
Yeah, the Senegal team is deep too. I mean, there's one player that's currently on the squad that I'm surprised is still playing for the club he's playing for. But Ismaila Sarr was really, really, really showing himself as a formidable opponent. And I know there were a lot of teams who were kind of picking around Watford, going, "Hey, you guys are getting relegated. What's going on with him?" So so they're just saying there's a lot of players outside of the Koulibaly, Edouard Mendy, Sadio Mane, that are on this squad that are very, very, very high quality players that may not be household names to the average soccer fan yet, but I know that those who know how deep this squad really is.
They've got talent for days.
Yep,
it's deep, and to go back to 2002. Papa Bouba Diop wasn't playing in the qualify. There was the Jow and then the all these guys, because he was introduced in the last minute by Harry Camara, to Bruno Metsu. So we have this, every couple of years, somebody in Senegal, just like we have these amazing guys that show up for some reason out of nowhere. And the last World Cup that was Ismaila Sarr. He did not play that much. He just came out of nowhere. And now we have Diallo, this guy Diallo. He's very young. And he's playing in France right now. And Mendy's doing wonders. In Chelsea. So we'll see.
All right, so we want to thank you for coming on and sharing your memories and your thoughts on Papa Bouba Diop, the wardrobe, and may he rest in power.
Yes,
and
and
have
he
you
will
back.
always be remembered.
Yeah.
That is great. That is great.
This
Yes.
is forever, man.
All right.
Thank you very much, Hadji, and we'll have you back on sometime soon.
All right, buddy.
Take care. Take care.
Take care.
Great to be able to talk to him, and it is unfortunate that Bouba Diop's passing got kind of lost in the hype surrounding Maradona. I am glad that even though it was a little bit late, we were able to pay a little bit give him a little bit of time and pay him tribute just a little bit. So
I remember that game too. I mean, it was on at like 4, 3, 2, 1 in the morning or something like that. And I tried to get up to watch it, and because France was killing at that time. They had just won the World Cup and the Euro, and they were the squad to beat. And while they did kind of lay an egg, but they just couldn't handle the athleticism of that Senegal team. They just seemed to run circles around them. And you're looking at a France team too. It wasn't like that France team wasn't familiar with African players, considering that how long they've had African players in their squad. And they just couldn't seem to get their act together. Now, granted, there were a lot of other issues going on with that squad as well. But to come in there and on the opening game to be the starlet and to go in there and not only dominate that team, but then, you're up 3-0 on Uruguay and should have put that game away. And sadly, Uruguay came back. But everyone's going like, whoa, who are these boys? And we can all remember the Sweden game. And look, you guys have heard me harp about golden goal before. That's the game. That game is the reason why I think there needs to be golden goal. That was one of the greatest World Cup games I have ever seen. And it was because it was a very back and forth affair. Sweden had some great chances. They were putting on a very strong attack, and Senegal was responding, and it was like a boxing match. And the way that the slight touch and the through ball and the shot in the corner and the place just erupted when they scored that goal. That was absolutely amazing. And it's too bad that the powers that be felt like that's not what football is. Because I personally, just me being selfish, I really love them to bring that back, and I cite that game as the reason to do so.
One of the big knocks, and I guess is it's a very poor stereotype, is always that African teams are disorganized. They can't defend. They just kind of
being very poor.
Yeah. The one thing that you can say about Senegal is that they are typically built on a very strong defense. In the 2 World Cups that they have played, right, in 2002 and 2002 and 2018, there have only been 2 teams that have scored more than once on them. Uruguay, you said, with the coming back to 3-3, and the only other team to do it was Japan, which was a draw. And their record in the World Cup is actually pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Like they've only lost they've only lost twice.
Yeah, and one of those was an extra time loss to Turkey. That was an extra time loss in the quarterfinal. That was an extra time game. Turkey, that's the best Turkey team that they've ever had. That Turkey team in 2002 that finished 3rd.
Yes, and that's their best performance. Extra time to get by Senegal. I mean, it was just a shame.
Yeah,
that
Turkey squad was deep. That was a good squad.
It's a shame that what gets lost in sort of what we miss in World Cup is when they do the seedings the way that they do, you end up with a team like Senegal who maybe hasn't had the chance necessarily to get the FIFA ratings points the way that they should. So they end up in a group with Poland and Japan and Colombia, which is always going to be a tough out for them.
Absolutely.
And they only miss going through on fair play points.
Mm-hmm.
And I had said before the World Cup, I said, watch out for this Senegal team. They are going to be a lot to handle, right?
Mhm.
They are going, if there's one team that is not necessarily in those like top two, pot A, pot B sorts that you really don't want to mess with, I think it's Senegal. And that's why I would like to see them maybe go back to the way that it was, because even though you got the occasional group of death, and you got some teams that were coming out, like the Nigerias and the Senegals, that were getting a better chance to make it into the quarters, or the knockout rounds.
Even stuff like Algeria, Tunisia, they've had some good teams.
Yeah,
and the jumble. I guess it's, I think that the moving to 48 teams for the World Cup, I think it's going to benefit Africa the most. I mean, I would say
they're going to get them.
You definitely saw the drop in level of competition with the last Euro when they expanded. There was a clear difference in talent. And so, I feel like Europe will probably, because Europe already gets 13 teams. So, you'll get a few more in there, but I don't feel like the intimidation piece of playing Europe is going to be the same. Whereas I feel like the African teams are going to be the ones that are going to benefit the most from this.
Well, the other thing is, because there'll be more African teams, we won't have this weird thing where, because they only do they only do like the one qualifying round with the one group, and it's an open draw. So we'll avoid possibly the situation where we have to choose every couple of years. You end up where you have to choose in between a team like Cameroon or Senegal, like one of the teams that really by right should be there instead of, I don't know, Panama, New Zealand.
New Zealand,
one of those teams that really should be there by all rights doesn't actually get in because of the way they do the qualifying. We'll have a better opportunity to see those teams, and I think that's going to do wonders for the development of African football. And I don't think he's wrong when he says that, probably within this generation, you're going to see an African team win the World Cup. I wouldn't be at all surprised if
or at least final. At least final. Yeah.
You'll see him. I wouldn't be at all surprised if you see him in the next by the time it gets within the next couple of World Cup cycles. Yeah. You see an African team make it into the final four, which would be a big step forward.
And El Hadji brought up a good point with the European-based players who were electing to play for even if it's not where they were born, like the country of their parents or something like that. You're seeing a lot with that. I believe Tammy Abraham is still possibly might play for Nigeria.
He would have to. He would have to file.
I mean, I heard that somewhere. I mean, don't quote me. I could easily be wrong about that.
He could.
Look what happened with Zaha. He granted, he's not going to start in England and everything, but they were very adamant that he should not play for Ivory Coast, and he still went and played for Ivory Coast. So you're just seeing. I'm just saying you're going to see more. I think you're going to see more players do that, which will give them a deeper squad. I mean, that one year that Jamaica qualified for the World Cup, half that team was English players, and they were like, "Hey, but we snuck in on there."
Anytime that you have a Jamaican team led by Dwight York, and Shaka Hislop,
and Dion Burton, who played for Derby.
Shaka Hislop played his college soccer at Howard.
Yeah, that's right.
That was the last time that Howard even competed for anything.
Yeah. Howard actually won the national championship in soccer and got it revoked because they had too many African players and college students on the team back in the 70s.
Well, Mike, you're going to have to put your money where your mouth is. The English bookmakers make Senegal a 500 to 1 chance
to win the World Cup.
To win the next World Cup.
In fact, that sounds about right, and that's actually not that bad.
And the USA are only 150.
I would put money on. So I would put money on Senegal right now before I would put money on the US. And one of the reasons why I would put money on the US, and this is just bookmakers looking to make odds and bets, and the UK does that. I am pretty confident that Senegal will qualify. Where I am not 100% confident that the U.S. Remember, the U.S. didn't qualify, right? And we've still got a lot of questions surrounding who's even going to be on the team. whereas we know pretty much what we're looking at when we look at Senegal. If there was a prop bet, no, I wouldn't take that because the U.S. can always win that stupid Gold Cup. I was going to say, but I guess technically the Senegal would win one first because the African Cup of Nations is in the winter. Again, I believe.
Yes, it is.
So technically, we could take the bet that Senegal will win an international trophy again will win another international trophy before the U.S. does.
Right. Okay.
I would take that.
I can't get my hands on the odds, but I'm sure they're
get your hands on the African Cup of Nations odds. You got to share that. I think that'll be fun.
We'll have El Hadji, and we'll get we'll see if we can get Ime and some other people on when that comes time to talk a little bit.
I mean, Patrick might want to join for that one too. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to go from Senegal to España and join Leo the Italian, talking Spanish football. I love it. Leo.
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
Good to have you back, Leo.
Good to have you back. Leo, before we talk a little bit about Real Madrid, I'm going to ask you to put your objective hat on for just a second or two. I know this is hard. And don't wallow too, or don't, you can't be too overjoyed when I ask this question. But I know that some partisanship is going to slip out. What in the world is going on in Catalonia with Barcelona right now? How are they 14 points behind Atletico Madrid, and they have only won 4 of their first 10 games in La Liga?
I watched the entire game against Cadiz, to which they lost. Cadiz is a small town, like on the East Coast, and it was they just looked bad. Like, they did not look like a team. I don't know what was going on with them. I'm saying this objectively. I watched the game in full, and I was like, wow, they didn't do anything. Like, Messi had a couple shots. The goalie had him on all of them. They didn't pass very well, and Cadiz successfully parked the bus for like 70 minutes of the game after scoring, and then scored again. Like, I don't know what their deal is.
How can they be competitive in the Champions League where they've won 5 from 5? They have won more games right now in the Champions League than they have in La Liga.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know where their heads are at. I know funny rumors that Messi's going to be leaving this summer, maybe to Paris, maybe elsewhere.
I don't think that's a funny rumor. I don't even think that qualifies as a rumor right now.
Yeah.
That'll be a foregone conclusion right now.
Sean would give you the odds on that one, and they'd be like, instead of 500 to 1, they'd be like 1 to 500.
Yeah. I could see it too. Maybe they're just not a team right now.
Now you get to put on your Madridista hat a little bit. How nice was it to see them lose to a small town that probably has one
fantastic.
stop?
I was standing up and cheering as if I was cheering for Cadiz. I was from there. Yeah, that was a great game for me to watch, but Madrid doesn't look fantastic either. The whole league is really funny right now. When last we met, we talked about Real Sociedad. They're still doing okay, but they've actually dropped the first spot to Atletico now, just because they've had 2 consecutive ties. Honestly, I still want to see them up top. You always love to see the Spanish teams doing well, the teams that are entirely Spanish. Atletico Madrid hasn't technically lost a game in a long time, like since last year, but they have some ties thrown in there. But yes, they've just taken the top spot. Exciting weekend coming up because we have the Madrid Derby on Saturday.
Before that, though, you know, Real Madrid isn't nailed on to get out of to qualify for the knockout stages of Champions League. This campaign has been anything but straightforward. Now, fortunately, I believe the game is against.
I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, I can't either. Dad, do you want to take a shot at this?
Yeah. Oh man. Let me try. Go ahead and keep talking. I'm gonna go ahead and
They're playing
work on
against
that one.
the little sisters of the
yes,
poor. but-
Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Mönchengladbach. Yes.
Nice.
Mönchengladbach.
Mönchengladbach. Yes.
I like that.
The only team that is actually from the Black Forest, because Borussia Dortmund was named after a bar, not an area.
Nice.
But you beat Inter Milan twice and lose to Shakhtar Donetsk twice.
Yeah. Twice. I think that they'll put this one away, but as I said last go round, there really even hasn't been a solid game in the Champions League for them. Like, yes, they just beat Inter a week and a half ago, but that wasn't a good game. I mean, there was a red card pretty early on, and they put them away after that. Go ahead.
The only team that you actually beat in the whole entire month of November was Inter Milan.
Come on now.
Yep.
I don't know what to make of that, but they returned to winning ways on Saturday with a win over Real, with a win over Sevilla. You got Mönchengladbach. The standings in the Champions League don't make for the greatest of reading right now, but a win over Mönchengladbach, you're in. Anything else gets a little dicey. You're dependent on help from a very inconsistent Inter Milan side, but then it gets into permutations and tiebreakers. Real Madrid have the edge because of the better head-to-head record against Inter Milan. So an Inter Milan win and a Real Madrid tie could see them through. But the safest bet would be to go to Germany, I'm sorry, they're actually playing it at home and win the game. And then we come to the weekend with the Madrid derby. How are you feeling about that?
I don't feel great about it. I mean, they love, historically, they love to step up against Atletico. They used to just bully those guys, even when they weren't having the strongest season. I haven't seen that anymore. It really was bullying, even on the field. The other guys were angry. Like they used to just put them away and not be so nice about it. But Atletico is a strong team. I think that they play more complete games and they put the ball in the net. Looks like they have the most. Atletico and Sociedad have more goals this season in La Liga than any of the teams by a decent margin. And I think they'll be able to score some goals against Real Madrid's aging defense.
Well, that's going to be the problem, is because not only is it that Atletico can score, they don't concede a lot.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, they've only conceded 2 goals in La Liga.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
To Madrid's 10. Can Madrid find a way to score against this defense? Or is it a case of Atleti gets that first goal and they play Simeone ball the rest of the time and walk off 1-0 and declare victory, and Simeone dances like he just won the European Cup for the first time on the sidelines of the Wanda Metropolitano?
The problem is that they're just so good at doing that. And their goalie is just such a monster that they can. Like, he is incredible. And when they are just punting the ball out of the zone and everyone else is just putting in crosses, like, this dude Oblak can just shut everyone down. They probably don't even need 3 defenders in front of him. But so that's what, unfortunately, it seems like Real's going to have to get off to a good start. They're going to have to use their young, fast forwards to try and get something going. Otherwise, Atletico's going to do what they do. It's 2 goals in 10 games.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They are right now. They're averaging like basically the equivalent of a 2-0 victory every game.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts.
And but don't forget too, the teams that are in second and third have played 12 games.
Mhm.
They're sitting 2 games in hand over the teams that are second and third, and a game in hand over the team that's in fourth, and 2 over fifth. So
Yeah.
I mean, I thought this was going to be a quite competitive league this year, but I also said too that you could see a scenario where Atletico Madrid might run away with this a little bit, and I might be proven right. So
Yeah.
I mean, my big thing was that I didn't think Real Madrid or Barcelona would be that competitive for the title, and it's like, Sean, we're betting the wrong league, brother. We should have gone over there early, my friend.
Well, the problem that we have, the one thing with 2 games in hand, one and a game against Real Madrid coming up. Right now, Real are 6 points back? Yeah, 6 points back. If Atleti wins this weekend, that's 9 points.
Yeah.
Plus, they've played 1 fewer game. Conceivably, they could win. They could have a 12-point lead over Real Madrid before the new year, and then you start to wonder: is it done and dusted? I mean, because that doesn't even take into account what their lead over Barcelona is. Barcelona's 14 points back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I saw something interesting, and if you want odds on this, I like looking at 538 soccer predictions. They're interesting. They're not always anywhere close, but right now, 538 has Barcelona finishing in their probability, their statistical table. They have Barcelona finishing second in La Liga.
It's happened.
I just don't. I don't know. That's a hard one for me to see. 14 points is a lot. Well, 13 points.
So who's first on the model?
Atleti. They've given it to Atleti, which is also would require Barca to make up 14 points and jump Real Madrid into third. That just, to me, you can like Barcelona all you want. Just this year, it's a tough one. So.
Yeah. You have 2 Americans getting playing time for Barcelona. I think that should let you know what their squad is right now. And I'm very proud of those boys. I'm very proud of them. I'm very happy that they're playing. And I'm glad Serginho Dest decided to change. I'm like, dude, you're about as American.
Something.
But, it's something. And so, I don't know. I just use that as my gauge for where Barcelona is right now.
So we also want to give you a chance. I know another one of your teams that you'd like to cover is Juventus. What's going on with that? They're not exactly pulling up any stumps either.
No, they haven't had a very good season. I think
we picked a great year to start bringing you in, huh, Leo?
Yeah. I think that they are going to have the similar path that they have in previous years, that they start off in the fall, they look okay. They always have a brand new team, it seems, every year. It's like a brand new starting lineup minus a couple guys, and they don't click for a while. I think that they'll look better towards the end of the season. They have a big game coming up this week. If you care about Messi versus Ronaldo in a game that doesn't actually matter, because both of the teams have clinched their spot in the Champions League. But as much as I always was a Ronaldo fan, and I admit that, I really was, he is the anchor that is dragging the team down. He doesn't finish all of the goals that are passed to him, and they still pass to him like 100 times a game.
Is that the issue, though, with any team right now that Ronaldo is going into? He's 37 years old. Ostensibly, he is he's a statue. He doesn't have the speed, the movement that he once had. He's still capable of finishing really well and effective play, but he commands so much of the ball that any offense is going to have to go through him, possibly to the extent or to the harm of creating other chances for other players. And we've seen that so much of the focus is getting the ball to Ronaldo, and unlike Messi, Messi's one to pass, and Messi will set up a goal. From his time at Manchester United, Ronaldo's been a little bit of a black hole when on that right side of a soccer field. The ball goes in, and unless it's going into the back of the net or out for a set piece, it doesn't often come back.
I agree with that. He does command a lot of the ball, and he loses the ball in the corner a decent amount. Maybe he didn't used to do it. Maybe he used to beat people down the side, but that's not what I've seen in the games this season. I think that the team would benefit from using their younger guys. Like Morata's back, and he's doing really well. If he had more of the ball, he doesn't even start a lot of the games. That's the craziest thing, is that Juve's lineup is so insane that like Mandzukic was on the bench for 2 years. Guys who like really should be starting in a European club, like other guys like Dybala doesn't start every game, and you're wondering like, is there anything wrong with Dybala, or is this team just too stacked in the front and paying Ronaldo too much money to put their best foot forward?
All right, so we're going to get you out on this. Give us some predictions. What do you think is going to happen in the Madrid derby this weekend?
I think Atletico is going to win, but it's never a bad game. No one ever gets blown out. It's a good fight. Unfortunately, they're probably going to go up by a goal at some point, and that'll be it.
Leo, thanks a lot, and we'll get you back in a couple of weeks to revisit La Liga and Serie A. Have a good one, my friend.
You too. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we're just going to let this happen. We're just going to let this happen. We're going to keep going with it because that is what this show is all about. All right. So, and 2 more countries about to be heard from right on time. G, how you feeling, man? We missed you last week.
I'm feeling much better, gentlemen. Thank you very much, guys, and thank you for the shout out. Much love. Appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely, man.
And
I'm feeling better, brother.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Played soccer last night. Was supposed to have a game tonight, man. Yeah, life is good right now, so I'm feeling much better. Thanks.
And I mean, I'm looking at the Celtic jersey, and I'm just wondering to myself, man, are you just a glutton for punishment?
Well, I couldn't find any other uniform right now hanging up in my closet, so this is the only thing that's left right now. So I don't know.
That's a tough one because they're struggling as much as anybody else is.
Mm-hmm.
And here also to join in the festivities and talk about the North London derby, Carlos Rosali. Now, my thing, Los, has always been, I'm going to tee up the Arsenal fans a little bit. I don't need one Tottenham fan to take on the 3 Arsenal fans. Isn't that right?
Well, it is what it is.
So, it was the North London derby this weekend. And Stead, G, Sean, didn't exactly go the way that you wanted it to. Yes. So, unfortunately, for you guys, there's a man who is here. So, Los, before we turn
Yes,
it
sir.
over, and before I turn it over to Stead to control the discussion, I am going to give you a chance.
I got my finger on the mute key, Los.
I am going to give you a chance to get your gloating out. Because what would it be? What would a North London derby be if you didn't get to talk a little bit of trash?
Yeah, I'll be right there, baby. What's up? Yeah, hold on. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm in the middle of the show. I can't. Sorry. I got to listen to this.
Well, right now, it looks like we're controlling. We're controlling North London again.
Before he gets too far into it, Y'all set me up and made me sit through it when he beat us. I told you I would get you back.
Fair enough.
Y'all made me sit through this when they beat us 6-0, and I said, I don't know how I'm gonna get you back, but I'm gonna get you back.
That's true. I did enjoy that. That was
Newton's law of physics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Yep. So now I get to turn
Los, you're gonna let you enjoy
wound up Los around on you guys and have him go at it, and I'm gonna mute my doggone self.
Well, let me tell you, it was. I mean, for us, great match, great result. Let me tell you, I know there's some people that are saying Tottenham's top of the table, but I mean, what kind of soccer are they playing? And all I can, they aren't playing the beautiful game. They aren't doing the buildup with 75 passes and then finishing with the goal. And all I can say is the whole object is to put the ball in the back of the opponent's net. We did it twice. Arsenal didn't do it. And that's the name of the game. That's the way it goes. We got the 3 points. You can have all the possession you want. And that's the way it goes.
This was a Jose Mourinho special. This is exactly
Yes.
what Jose did.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me. Los,
He did against Man City also a couple weeks ago.
But Los, I'm actually going to piggyback on what you just said. I mean, on our little Arsenal chat group, there was a gentleman who pointed out that Arsenal had the possession, and it took every ounce of me to not just go, "Do you know who's coaching the other team? Do you know who's coaching them?" Number two, how many games do you see that the team that goes up 2-0 in the first half not dominate possession? That's what always happens. So, if the 5 people listen to this, possession in the second half when you're losing is a given. That's what's supposed to happen. So, Los, sorry, I was like, I'm going to say something about this because I can't stand that argument. Stop. I can't stand it. Right. Even when it supports my support, I can't stand it. Okay, Los, I'm sorry. I teed you up. Because
I was talking with one of my coworkers today, and he doesn't have a team per se in the Premier League, and I'm always like, oh no, that's crap. You always have a team in the Premier League. Who's your team? And he says, well, I've got a Chelsea kit in my closet. I guess I'm a Chelsea fan. I said, okay, all right, yeah, okay, right. You're a Chelsea fan. That's fine. But I said, I'm hearing about people saying that the Spurs, the way that they're winning, it's dreadful. It's awful to watch, etc. And it's not the beautiful game. And I'm like, if the beautiful game is what you want, and the beautiful game wins all the time, then the beautiful game whoever plays the beautiful game should be the winners all the time. And Brazil wins a lot, but they don't win all the time. And they have the most beautiful game of any team anywhere, the Brazilian national side. So get out of here, as the kids say, FOH with that crap over there. That's where you go with that BS. We got the 3 points, and that's the name of the game. You got to win. The only stat that matters is who has more goals than the other, and that's determines the winner. And that's who gets the 3 points. That's all there is to it. Mourinho has figured out a way to get this team to win. Pochettino couldn't do it with similar casts, maybe perhaps not as strong talent-wise. I think this is a stronger talent-wise team than what Pochettino had. But Pochettino, we had possession out the yazoo the whole time. And what did it get us? Not a whole lot of anything. Some nice little passes, okay, ticky-tacky passes, but it didn't matter because we weren't getting the W's. And so now we got Mourinho getting us W's, and it doesn't look pretty, and people go, oh, we hate it. Well, you know what? You're going to be hating for a while.
I'm Sean, I'm sorry. You have to talk with that on. I'm sorry, you have to. you're okay. I'm gonna knock.
Ho, 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 I say. No, I think my analogy for the game on Sunday would be something along the lines of Mourinho and Arteta meeting, and Arteta thinking, I think he's going to punch me. And he's like going, no, he's not going to punch me. And then they finally meet, and Mourinho says, you think I'm going to punch you, don't you? And Arteta goes, yeah, I do think I'm going to punch you. And Mourinho punches him. And that's exactly what happened. We got punched, and we knew the punch was coming, and we didn't stop. We couldn't help ourselves. We completely lost the plot in the 19th minute, and the next thing we know, the ball's in the back of our net. And once you let the goal in against the current Mourinho side, the one thing that worries me is that he looks happy. This is the first time I've seen that little fucker happy. He didn't look happy at Man U. He certainly didn't look happy at his second stint at Chelsea. And now he's gone to, White Hart Lane. He's as happy as a pig in shit. Maybe the two deserve each other. We'll see whether he can keep up this smash and grab tactic until the end of the season, because it's over 20 games to go. He has been lucky in that respect with other teams that he's managed to drag over the line using the current tactics. But we'll see what happens next game, because they play Palace away. Palace don't want to play. Tottenham don't want to play. It'd be quite interesting. Maybe the ball will just sit there in the middle of the field.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching that game, and
Come on, you have it. No, you have it.
I saw a game. I saw an Arsenal squad that was just feeding right into the Spurs game plan. You're just going like, have you been paying attention? And I think the fact that Arsenal struggled so much with just looking like they know how to play the game and passing the ball effectively and controlling the ball and not making a lot of mental errors, that they got sucked into thinking that method was going to work. And I know when they were kicking the ball around the field, they appeared like they were doing well. And I will say, the start of the game, Arsenal was playing pretty well. And even after they gave up the goal, I saw a team that looked like they already lost after they gave up that first goal. And say what you want, there was a counter, a very Mourinho-esque counter, but Arsenal had numbers back. They had a goalkeeper who was relatively out of position, but he was still in relatively good position. And you had a wonder strike by a very informed player right now. I take nothing away from that goal. That was a beautiful goal. That's going to be a contender for goal of the year. I thought it was a beautiful goal.
It was, but we saw both teams right there. We saw Arsenal's defense just go to crap. They gave them so much space to shoot that 25-yarder. But then we saw Tottenham's offense do what they do. They're a fast break team. They're going to jam their speed right down our throats.
Right.
And as we got back in defense, we gave them so much space. Leno, what the hell was he doing? And Song just hit a beautiful shot. We saw all of the team exposed in that just one play right there. How horrible our defense is and how fast their offense is.
But I'm going to push back just a second, though, because while that was true, that's not a goal you see Spurs take that often. That's not.
Is that the Bale effect?
Down your throat when they counter. So all I'm getting at is I get the fact that I get why that goal went in, but what bothers me is that they lost at that game. As soon as that goal went in, game was over. That was the end of the game. And they tucked their tails and they started passing around. And in the second half, I actually left. I went for a run. I was like, this game is Groundhog Day. Every 4 minutes, they're doing the same thing over and over again. I just said, this is a waste of time. And, from a coach's perspective, if you have a game plan that's proven to work and you have a team that's willing to execute that game plan in the manner that the coach wants them to, you're going to win some games. So I feel like that's what's working for Spurs right now is they do have a good squad and they have a team that's willing to do what the coach wants them to do in the manner that he wants them to do it. Whereas Arsenal, who has a bunch of players, but they don't really appear to have a team. And Sean, I looked at all the stuff you were talking about. The middle of the field is where they don't want to be. Why wouldn't you want to control the middle of the field? You are running up and down the wings and kicking in crosses to a 6'3" center back who's just going to keep knocking him out of the way.
Yep.
And then you have
And it was funny because in our Arsenal string, I just threw out Olivia Giroud's name out there. I didn't watch the game or anything. It was just funny watching and hearing all the highlights. It's like we need a tall center guy, and we have speed. But when they're doing 32 crosses,
right?
They're doing 32 crosses, and we can't even get a head on a ball on frame. That tells you right there the game plan was crap.
Yeah,
you cannot have crosses like that. You have to dribble through.
Right? How many header goals?
This was the problem.
I mean, he doesn't score header goals. Come on. And then you're trying to whip headers in to Lacazette, who's 5'9" on a good day.
Like, not going to happen.
And what are you doing? So I will applaud Spurs. I thought Spurs played a good game. They outplayed Arsenal, and Arteta was thoroughly outcoached this game.
Without a doubt.
He's been outcoached a lot lately. And
I don't know if you guys heard this a lot, but Kane's name on defense was almost every single play. He was helping out so much. Again, you have a header guy who's going to go up and get the headers, and I heard his name more on defense than on offense. It was unbelievable. But Mourinho just shut Arteta's defense down, offense down, and just manhandled him. It was outclassed without a doubt.
Getting a bunch of
it harkens back to the Dutch. You go back to the Dutch total football concept that was back in the 70s that took them to 2 World Cup finals in 74 and 78. The whole total football concept where players play not just a certain position, but they play whatever position is necessary at the time. So they're all constant rotation of players. It's amazing. And one more thing before we move on to a different topic, I just want to say I did not know that Santa Claus had a British accent. I think this is monumental. I had no idea. It's totally mind blown. Had no idea. So.
I didn't either, and I'm not 100% sure what to make of this. But I understand that this is what and who we are. So we're just kind of gonna go with it because for us it is like completely right on brand. I mean, the every time I think that we've reached a new low, y'all clowns just go and get another shovel.
I mean, we could always consult Magic 8 Ball and see whether or not we stay with that theme. I don't know.
All right. So, what does the Magic 8 Ball, Los? It's going to get a little bit trickier for you in Spurs coming up in the next few weeks. You've got a game this week. You've got a game in the Europa League, but you're already well through. Mourinho can rest a couple of guys. Crystal Palace on the weekend, and then Liverpool,
and then
at Anfield,
Liverpool,
and
at Anfield,
and Leicester
with fans,
and then after that, Leicester City coming in, who. I mean, they're
well, you got to play everybody twice anyway. So I mean, let's get these games out of the way. Let's just do it. So what's your question? Go ahead. Magic 8 Ball's waiting.
The Magic 8 Ball. Are Spurs still tops come New Year's?
Come New Year's, and Magic 8 Ball says very doubtful.
Agree.
Very doubtful. So you're just enjoying the ride while it lasts.
Oh, I'm just saying what Magic 8 Ball says. I don't agree with that at all. I think we're gonna play if we can get our heads in the right place and play our game. We can actually dominate Palace. I don't have a problem with that. Liverpool is going to be an issue in midweek even. So that's even more of an issue. Having another game, just a couple days after you play Palace, and then that one's a few days after you play the Europa League. And yes, we've already
starting 11 bums that game.
A spot.
Well, yeah, I think he just called me. You want to come over and play real quick?
Yeah, he told me to get my boots ready. So. But that Liverpool match midweek is going to be a real test. Even without Virgil van Dijk, Liverpool is still formidable, and they still have a very solid team. They are definitely missing Virgil. There is no doubt. And Allison's is a hit or miss. It seems like he got hurt, then he got better. Now he's hurt again, and I don't know what's got up with that. So it really depends on who they have in the goal that can make a difference. We just got to see what happens, and it's going to be tough. I don't know. Liverpool, they're tough, but you got to play them all. You got to play everybody twice. So let's bring it. Let's go.
Just put Joe Hart in goal. You guys are fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Hart is always the answer. All right. To my Arsenal contingent, this is not good.
No.
The last month since the win at United has seen a steady slide down the Premier League. I know that Arteta had a closed-door meeting with the team to sort of, early Festivus, airing of the grievances.
Hey, babe, get the metal pole out of the closet.
And apparently he wanted to do feats of strength with lost. But Sean, how does he arrest this slide? How do they get it back and get back on track?
Well, yeah. So I suppose in a way we've been given a very small lifeline in terms of the fixture list, because our next game in the Premier League is at home to Burnley. So several things have come into play. We get 2,000 fans in the stadium, so hopefully that'll make a difference. I had a friend who attended last week against Rapid Vienna, and he said even just with 2,000 fans, you can rack up a lot of noise, basically. He was very, very drunk. That's not we should, with the fans behind us, I think we're going to have, in answer to your question, Mike, we're going to have to revert back to what worked for us a month and so ago, and just keep it three at the back, have the wing backs, go back to playing how we were getting 3 points. And if it was down to me, I don't know how fit he is, I'd play Emil Smith-Rowe in the number 10 role against Burnley. And probably drop William, keep Aubameyang and Lacazette up there with maybe Saka, and just go for it a little bit more, but by hopefully keeping it tight at the back, and probably getting Louise back in the team. So not very exciting, but that's been a proven method. In the same way that Mourinho has got his proven methods for winning games, we've got to just get back and win games. It's simple as that. I don't care if it's 1-0. Let's just get the 3
What
points.
do you think, G? What do they need to do to get this thing back on track?
I'm not a big fan of the 3 in the back all year. It's been killing us, and I put in the Arsenal chat. Last year, we were tying all of these games, but this year we're just losing all of them, and we're dropping hardcore. I think we need to have 4 in the back to shut down. We need to start getting points. So if we got to get started with ties going here, get 1 point, to spark a 3-point kind of win streak. But the formation right now is not working in my eyes. Saka looked good against Tottenham. Looked like he's the only one that was trying to score a goal. So, hey, if he's putting forth the effort against, big teams, give him another chance to see what he can do. But I think the formation right now is crap. Our center of our midfield is nowhere to be found. He's not found a good recipe or connection in the central that is proven game after game after game. It seems like a new formation, new people are being moved in, moved out. So he just needs continuity, bottom line, and just stick with it. And just sometimes you might lose 10-0, sometimes you might win 10-0. So you have to go through the lumps, especially with the young team that they have right now. But I think he's changing so much, and we're just not right there at that point.
Stead, we talked at you, Sean, G. and we all talked about the fact at the beginning of the season, after the end of last season, he's putting it together. Arteta's putting it together. We were skeptical about the three at the back at the end of last season. And I said, I don't know that I think he was doing that out of necessity, not desire. He kept with it because it was working and it got you to an FA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Have we reached a point now? Coaches get paid too, where other coaches have figured out a way how to play through this. Is it that he needs to make a change, or is it that the team just is not executing? Stead.
I think he needs to work with what he has, and I don't think he's doing that because they are not executing. I'm going to go on a different kind of, this is three typical fans here. All three see something different. I think the issue still is the fact that they can't score any goals, and that changes the way you play. So I think that the fact that you have a young team, the young players, at least from what I've seen, have been playing well. I agree. I think they should be playing Joe Willock. I love Bukayo Saka. I think he's played well. Look, get Martinelli back on the field. Get him on the field. Get him some game reps. Get Ainsley Maitland-Niles back on the field. He was playing pretty well before he sort of has fallen off. So, of course, yes, I'll say we don't see what's going on in training, but obviously, what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. The defender who seems to always, Hector Bellerin, forgets that he's a defender. and it's like he's out of position a lot. He's clearly lost a step from his injuries. He can't get back as quickly as he used to. And there's just every time they roll out the game, I agree with you, G, you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what the lineup's going to be. And I think the other coaches are aware of that. And I think they are going, I don't think Arteta fully knows what he's doing. Once we see that weakness, because it always shows up at about 19, 20, 25 minutes where they start looking a little like, well, what are we supposed to do? And it always happens in the offensive 3 out of 4. So it's like on the offensive side of the field, but they're still close to the midfield line. That's when you start to see them start to look around and wonder, what are we going to do? And then they start kind of launching the ball up from there, looking for these weird crosses, hoping that Aubameyang can get on one of the end of them. And it's just not working. But the frustration is they're not changing it. You're just trying. Isn't that the definition of insanity? Yep. You still have not scored any goals from open play.
And you see Tottenham or any kind of good defense, it's going to shut down that one forward. Yeah. Like if that's your one target guy, even when I play, I say, hey guys, number 14's target, watch out. Yeah. We shut him down. The whole offense is gone. That's what's been happening to Arsenal over weeks after weeks.
We used to man mark. I used to man mark their fastest guy. I was like, look, just go where he goes, because I was fast as he was, and then we'd win.
Yep. So it's just that simple.
Yeah, it's that simple. I think Arteta is being outcoached. I do. And I think that once people got enough tape on him and started to figure things out, he's struggling a little bit. And, and also we can't forget this. He's 37, 38. He's young. He's real young. And his entire coaching experience is 3 years as an assistant coach in Manchester City. So, come on. I'm not
with great success too.
Like that, but I am saying you got to study up a little bit more.
A couple of weeks ago, y'all were telling me like he was the second Wenger.
I still think he could be. I'm not, but you can be a second coming of Arsene Wenger when you work with what you have, and when it just doesn't seem like he's doing that anymore.
All right.
I will say this though. I will say this. When you still are only 5 or 6 points out of the top 4, you get a good run of games. Look what happened to Man City. Look what's happening to Manchester United.
Oh, it's true. It's early. It's early in the season. Early. Manchester United's back up in the top 10.
Early in the season. Yeah. You win 3 games in a row, all of a sudden, okay, maybe you're back in 9th place again. So But I will say, though, that if they don't do it now, those little 3 games don't add up to nearly as much when it's April and March as it does when it's December. So they have to do something now if they hope to compete at all this year. It has to happen now. If they're still sitting in 11th, 12th by January 15th, season's over.
All right, so Los, I'm gonna get you out.
So if they're 11th or 12th, then by December we can postpone St. Totteringham's Day then again for another year.
I've already postponed
gotcha.
it, sadly. I've already postponed it.
All right,
I'm sorry. I postponed that day on Thanksgiving. I was like, well, that ain't happening.
All right, Los, I'll get you out with this. To the victors go to spoils. Thoughts from the top of the table.
Well, the air is kind of clear up here. At least 2 points clear. So, it's a good place to be in. We haven't been here in a while. We're enjoying it. We like to stay here, but we got still half the season plus to go. So it's and December's not done. We had 9 games inside 28 days, which was one more than what Liverpool had on their schedule. So we got a lot of games. We got to try and stay healthy, avoid the injuries. And Ndombele didn't play this last game against Arsenal because he had a knock and hadn't recovered fully. We didn't miss him. But we could have. That's the thing about having him in the midfield. He is very creative and he's got good control. But the one thing that does concern me, and it happened a lot, we shut down the passing game by putting a bunch of guys, in the parking the bus mode. So we get a lot of guys there in the back. And so the teams that we're playing now are trying to, like Chelsea was sending the ball in on crosses. Arsenal doing the same thing, sending in crosses. And you guys are lamenting this whole thing. And I'm over here, biting my fingernails because I'm like, oh, God, don't find someone's head. No. It's like a double-edged sword. You guys see it as, oh, my gosh, not this again. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, not this again. And
as long as you guys are parking the bus against Arsenal, just look at our trophy case and all the gleaming, shining as you kind of parking the bus and all that stuff. So I can't remember the last time it was a trophy winning by Tottenham. I don't remember any of that hardware or anything like that. So
it was 2009, but that's okay. Hey, 2008, and we got 24.
No.
We got 24. Our trophy case is not empty.
Agreed. Never said it was.
Hey, this is the year. The year ends in a 1.
2020.
That seems to be our thing.
2020 is the year that anything can happen. All right, Los, thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah,
and we'll get you back. We'll get you back soon.
All right, guys.
G, before you leave.
Guys.
See you later.
G, before you leave, brother. I'm glad you're feeling better. I wanted to get your thoughts from 14th.
All right, guys. It's good seeing you. So we'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Oh, geez.
Appreciate it, guys.
Talk to you later.
All right, guys.
Los, good to see you. Our contingent from Florida coming on and joining us to argue about the North London Derby. And if there's one thing that the guys from Florida do really, really well, they argue. And and they're always a good time. Geez. You ever get the feeling, Stead, that this just went off the rail real quick?
Oh, man, of course. What time is it? Yeah, it's about 9:50. It's usually when we start to fall off, man.
The problem was we didn't even fall. We made it through. We had. Should I take credit for should we take solace in the fact that we had like one legit segment this evening?
That's true.
And then it all went sideways.
That's true. We did. We
got through about the first 30 minutes of a show.
We usually stay on with the first guest. The first topic is usually we stick with that topic, and then we just kind of start to fall apart. And by this time, we've all had a little bit too much scotch, and then things start to turn upside down.
All right,
As you see by Sean putting on his face gear, which is great. Glad Sam's is joining.
I don't know how I'm going to do this. I've got to actually make this work and be normal because we're having a legit sports journalist come on, somebody who actually really does this for a living, and I'm welcoming him into this buffoonery. Like, Andy, I'm sorry. Like, this was not the impression that I necessarily wanted to give you of this, as everybody bails on me.
Oh no, I'm just glad to be here. I get a chance to talk about. I talk about American sports all day. I finally get a chance to talk about some Premier League. It's great. It's good stuff.
So we want to welcome in Andy the Hammer, so named because he's a West Ham fan.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is fun. I gave the guys the opportunity to sit and talk about their North London derby a little bit earlier. Now I get the chance to talk about my team. I'm sure if you can see behind me, you can kind of figure out I am a United supporter, and we had y'all. So before I start going in on this weekend's game, Andy, number one, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. We're looking forward to having you, and hopefully you can join us again. It's always good to have a view from a non-traditional team.
Hey, Mike, I'm going to jump in really quickly just so you know.
They know each other?
They know each other. In fact, their parents are the ones who welcomed me into the neighborhood. So I've actually have hung out with both of their families on multiple occasions, and that's how I know these two.
Yep.
So I didn't tell Matt on purpose because I was like, he's gonna crack up when he comes in and sees this.
Coach Matt.
I mean, Matt's been on the show quite a bit over the past year and a half or so. He's been on quite a bit. So
good stuff. Good stuff.
He's one of.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
That's so good. That's so weird. It wasn't letting me know. Andy, it's great to see you, man.
Yeah, it's good seeing you.
Man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
All right, so Andy, first and foremost, how did you become a Hammers fan? And please tell me it wasn't because you watched that really bad movie with Green Street Hooligans.
Green Street Hooligans. I watched that like much later after I became a Hammers fan, to be honest. It all started because of Harry Potter, if you can believe it. Dean Thomas is like a one-sentence reference in the Harry Potter books, but Dean Thomas is this Muggle-born who's a West Ham fan, excuse me. And so I was like kind of getting into soccer at the time, probably middle school, maybe going on 10, I guess it's 8 years ago or so. And started playing with West Ham on FIFA, started watching them in the Premier League, and I've always been a guy that likes pain and suffering. So it was a natural fit. It just called to me.
So typically, one of the things Stead said when he pitched it was, we can have Andy on because he's a West Ham fan, and it's always nice to have the team from the mid to the bottom of the table.
We have Arsenal.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Fair enough.
Fired.
Fair enough.
Fired.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We had to come down and join you guys after the last couple of years.
Typically, West Ham, despite the size of the club and the size of the following, recently has existed in that mid to lower table realm. That being said, this year, West Ham has actually been enjoying a fair amount of success. They've been enjoying a bit of a renaissance. Moyes has been enjoying a much-needed renaissance, given how his tenure at Man United ended, his tenure in Spain ended, and then even his first tour at West Ham ended. So this season, at least early on, you've got to be looking at it and saying, this is a bit of a success for us.
I think going back to I know you're a Man United fan, and I think entering that game, and a lot can be said about West Ham because fans, including myself, went into that match expecting to get a result. And I think that says two things. One, it says something about Manchester United and how far they've regressed. And two, it shows Ham has kind of maybe stepped it up a little bit, kind of to the heights that, like very low heights that Slaven Bilic brought them in 2016, that would have been last year at Upton Park. And so we're seeing it again. You mentioned David Moyes. I like what he's done just in that second stint where he had like no support the first time and nobody wanted him back the second time, understandably. But I think what he's been able to do with making sure the fitness is there, I think his training regimen has been good. The players know the system. I mean, they kind of stick to it. And that's something that Pellegrini, it looked half the time it wasn't the system. So I'm proud just to have a little bit of a little bit of structure in the team. I mean, it's not pretty stuff. I mean, we've been lucky in some of the games. We've had, Sioux Falls scored, I think, like a 91st minute winner against Fulham. If that goes a different way, we're not 8th in the league. It took Sebastian Allaire had a screamer against Sheffield. Okay, that's a 1-0 win. If that doesn't go our way, it's another bad one. And then I think it was like a fraction of a millimeter that Ollie Watkins was offside against Aston Villa. Those 3 matches, if they go different ways, I mean, we're looking at a completely different season. Instead, we got 9 points from those, and we're feeling great. Except I think as a West Ham fan, I always look at the table and I'm like, yeah, we're about 23 points from safety. And even though we're 8th in the league and, we're nowhere near Arsenal, we're miles above them. But I still think safety is the first priority with this team, because what goes around comes around. And at the end of the year, I think we're going to be kind of losing some of those 50-50 toss-ups that with VAR and things like that.
But you did have one. Talk about the comeback against Spurs in the 80th minute when you rescued 3 goals to make that one a 3-3 draw.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a dog, and Stead knows my dog is easily set off as she barked at your son the other day. But we screamed we screamed just this when Lanzini scores that absolute screamer from outside the box. I mean, I just was off the couch, just jumping around, shocked. Because usually it's the other way for West Ham. I mean, in the past, it's always West Ham giving up the 90th minute goals and showing that they don't have the legs to kind of last those matches. But finally, it kind of worked in our favor, and it was amazing. Like the fact that was that Sanchez with the own goal, I'm pretty sure. I mean, everything kind of went West Ham's way, which doesn't normally happen, and to have it happen against Spurs it was an amazing feeling. We don't usually have those awesome feelings, so I cherished it, to be honest.
All right, Matt. So Andy threw the shot at us. He said that they went into this game this week feeling like they had a more than legitimate shot of defeating Man United. I could ask anybody on this panel, and I'll ask Sean, did you think that I'm sure you and Stead would agree that West Ham had a pretty decent shot of beating Manchester United this week? If I was betting, I'd have probably taken West Ham at home with the 2,000 fans. And I even went into that game thinking that they were going to win.
I would have followed that piece of advice, Michael, had Antonio been playing. But I think that with Antonio out and Haller up front, he just doesn't quite carry the same sort of threat in attack, shall we say, as Antonio. But no doubt West Ham have been playing exceptionally well. And don't worry, us Arsenal fans were also jumping up and down when Lanzini got his spectacular equaliser in the 91st minute. So you weren't alone, Andy.
Yeah, agreed.
And frankly, one of my best friends here, who I talk to almost daily, is a huge West Ham fan. He just did Terry Sheringham's house and did his Christmas lights about a week ago because he's based down in Essex. And he's always been very up about the team. He thought you'd have a good season last season, which didn't quite work out. But there's no doubt it's the strongest squad you've had for a very long time. And long live the Czech Republic, which you seem to be racing a train of knots, as they say. But there, Souček's very good signing, and the other fullback you've got is very good signing, and there's another one that you're after now as well. So just a little story about David Moyes. About 21 years ago, I stayed over in a hotel in South London to play golf, and it was a very, very late evening, I seem to remember, with much too much whiskey drinking, as you know, Michael. However,
why do you blame me?
Well, I'll blame you. I'll blame you for everything. And I somehow couldn't sleep very well, and I came downstairs about 7:30 to try and get some water or something. And David Moyes was the manager of Preston North End in those days.
Oh wow!
And he was up with. They were playing against Crystal Palace, and so this was a hotel quite near where Palace's ground was. and he had them all up. He had them all up at 7:30 on a Saturday morning, running around the golf course almost. And he just looked hard as fuck. You know, I was in my 30s at the time. And I was looking at this guy, and I was like, little did I know that he would become an Everton legend, a Man U flop, and potentially a West Ham legend, as they say. But yeah, he's obviously a huge disciplinarian, knows how to keep his team fit, knows what he's doing from a coaching perspective. So yeah, I think West Ham will have a good season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I concur because, you know, I always felt like West Ham has had a formidable squad. I mean, they it's not like they haven't been afraid to spend money and bring in talent. And I think they've actually, you know, Andy, I remember talking to you about this. I feel like they've underperformed a lot. And while I do understand the sentiment that, you know, if we can get a 7th and maybe qualify for a European spot, that would be a fantastic season, which is true. And of course, as an Arsenal fan this year, of course, we're hoping for the same thing. But I think over the years, though, I feel like since the season that they were for the first time, I can't remember if it was once or twice, but the last relegation, I felt like they've done things to the squad to make it a bit more formidable. And they just haven't been able to reach where I think their potential may have lied. And of course, this is from my perspective, but it just appeared to me that they're finally kind of playing the way I've always expected them to be able to play in a way. And yeah, I don't wish that stadium that they play in on anybody, but but given the circumstances, you know, I'm glad that they're finally kind of like seeing what I felt like the fans have deserved for a number of years.
I also should have added that I quite like to rate your team because a midfield at Arsenal of Declan Rice and Thomas Partey would be rather tasty.
I think everybody would like Declan Rice right now. He's really enjoyed. He had a bit of for his standards, a down season last year, and he's kind of enjoyed a rebirth. I think, you know, he was playing some center back last year, which may not be his, but that partnership, Andy, has worked really well in midfield, and I think we're seeing the best of Declan Rice.
We are. I want to go back for a second to what Stead said about West Ham does splash money, and they have for a number of years, but I just always kind of felt that they've splashed money almost with their eyes closed, like they.
Fair enough.
A player that's like, oh, he scored 15 goals in the Bundesliga. Let's snatch him up. Does he fit with the team? No. That's kind of with Aller. I mean, yeah, he was great as kind of a second striker with Kovic. What that he in the Bundesliga? In the Bundesliga. I mean, but if he's going to lead the line for West Ham, we need a guy like Antonio who's just an endless runner that's going to give nonstop energy. And so when you splash like these huge sums on these kind of extravagant players that. Yeah, they should work in most teams. They just won't work. And that's just it's frustrating.
Yeah,
you know, and you guys know it happens to every team. But I think what David Moyes has done with Souček, Soufal, those are the two Czech guys they brought in for relative peanuts, honestly. Jared Bowen also. Those three have immediately come in and have been impact players for this team. It's a breath of fresh air that a signing has actually done something.
And you have to say that Antonio's been a bit surprising. I mean, I don't think anybody was expecting to play this well for as long as he's played this well. I mean, he had a bit of a bump after the COVID break, but he seems to be maintaining his form.
Absolutely.
And been willing to stay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, he's 30 years old. I mean, he's not going anywhere else.
Yeah, not anymore.
Much older than
but
I thought.
He had a shot. You know, Andy brought up 2016 and that season, the last season at Upton Park. And Dimitri Payet was putting them in left, right, and center.
Yep.
And the next opportunity he got, it was like, peace, I'll see you later. One thing about Haller that I found funny, I was watching the game and we had the closed captions on. The closed caption on NBC could not get Haller's name right. Every time Haller did anything, they put up a guy. Which wasn't much except for when he tripped over himself. Yeah. But anytime they mentioned Haller on the broadcast, the closed caption on NBC would put up a Gallo.
Yeah.
And it never stopped the whole entire time.
What?
Every time the commentators mentioned it got Haller, the closed caption on NBC without fail said a Gallo. And I wouldn't have known it except I was watching the closed caption and I had the speaker set up next to me, so I was listening to the commentary. I'm watching it and I'm like, did they really just do that once? Then it happened again. And it happened again. And then it happened the entire game. I'm like, they really, like, somebody just is like clicking something somewhere because this makes no sense. So NBC, please do better. Sebastian Allaire and Odion Igalo are two totally different people. I don't know a whole lot about Sebastian Allaire. I do know Odion Igalo is a Nigerian who plays for Manchester United and was not even on the team sheet that day. And I'm pretty sure Sebastian Allaire is not a Nigerian who plays for Manchester United. So can we just file this under all black dudes look alike to them? Like that, like I'm gonna need NBC. I'm gonna need y'all to do better. That was bad, and you can't tell me that you can't spell Allaire because it is literally Hall with an ER on it. It is harder to spell Igalo than it is to spell Allaire. But so, Matt, how did that happen?
I mean, honestly, we, like Sean and Stead were talking about how, like they could see West Ham, beating us. Honestly, West Ham for like at least 2 years now has kind of been a thorn in United's side. Like we hadn't beaten them in like 4 or 5 games.
They beat us last year.
They beat us last year, and then the return leg, even when we were on like the really good form, after the COVID bubble or the COVID stoppage, like we were playing pretty well, and West Ham found a way to like really frustrate us. It took us a long time to like get things going. They were just playing the defensive system was preventing us from doing pretty much anything, and it was like a quick 1-2 combination between Greenwood and Martial, and like we scored in like the 80 some odd minute, and we snatched points from a game that we were playing pretty poor. But yeah, like I honestly that game, obviously a game of 2 halves, actually probably a game of 2/3 and another third after that, because we were just awful in the first half. And Pogba, it actually makes me mad that Pogba scored that goal because he was terrible. Like, absolutely awful. Like, Mike, I was texting you and everybody in the United chat. Like, this is, like, the man, he's been out of breath and all that. And we know that, like, he makes mistakes. But normally, like, he'll bail himself out with, like, a good pass here and there. He'll start passing the ball. He'll make a really good dribble. Dude couldn't dribble. Dude couldn't pass the ball to save his life. Like 2 of his passes that like either bounced off Cavani or were just completely misplaced led directly to like chances for West Ham. Like I'm actually kind of mad that Ole didn't bench him in this, like in coming out in the halftime. Like, and honestly, what that second half showed me was Bruno Fernandes is literally everything that we had hoped that Pogba would be for us. Like, for years, we were like, we just got to release Pogba. Like, he's just this guy he's going to explode as soon as we get Matic or as soon as we get Fred or as soon as we get anyone else to essentially do what Sissoko and Conte do for France, basically do all of the work defensively for him. Like, as soon as we get him going, then, like, he's going to unleash it. Bruno Fernandes came on, in the second half and created the most chances of any player in the Premier League in an entire game, and he came on at halftime. He created 8 chances. And, like, Pogba bails himself out because he scores a goal. Then his agent comes out today and says that he wants to leave. So he can go.
I think
But yeah, like I mean, I'm happy we won. I'm happy we come back. Mike, you and I, we keep talking about this. Every single time we're coming out, the last few games we've had to do, like, make a comeback or score late. Like, at the beginning, we're starting the games like terribly, and it really looks like we just have no plan. It's like, all right, guys, like, figure it out. And we have been after halftime, but it's almost like Ole's like, all right, I think we should play like this. And then we have halftime. He's like, all right, I was really wrong. Like, we should play completely different now. And yeah, he makes one or two substitutions and it changes the game. It's like, why can't we start this way? I get it. Like, we needed to hopefully rest Bruno and Rashford for our Champions League game this week. But man, like, it's a mess. I know we're winning and we shouldn't be complaining, but the other shoe's going to drop soon. I'm telling you.
I think everybody feels. The one thing I can say is, and I would wonder if if Andy and Stead and Sean would agree with this. What I saw from Bruno coming on in that last 45 minutes was just about as complete a midfield performance as I've seen from any player in a long time. Just how he bossed the game, how he created the game. And if you had any questions about whether or not that guy is world class, whether we were making it up last year about the impact and just his ability to take a seemingly average side and make them better, I would think that display would have dispelled them. I mean, Stead, what do you think?
Outside of the way he takes penalty kicks, I can take nothing away from him as a player. I can't. I mean, he's the midfielder that every team wishes they had right now. I mean, you're talking about a player who's setting up others for chances to score, and that's the biggest problem that the Arsenal's having right now, to the point where I'm wishing that they didn't bench Ozil. And it's just because you need someone to create chances. And I think that's one stat that's starting to get a little bit more love, I think, is chances created. You're starting to see that come about a bit more, whereas before, it was assist goals, kind of headers, tackles, stuff like that. But that is one that needs to be more sussed out. It's the way you can kind of gauge how effective your strikers are. If you're saying, okay, you're creating 24 chances a game and you're scoring 0.5 goals, then that lets you know that maybe you have some issues with your strikers or something like that. So outside of that, though, I mean, you're looking at a guy who should be talked about, at least in the Premier League context. Should he be in the same breath as Kevin De Bruyne? Probably.
What's the general feeling on Bruno in the UK, Sean?
He's very well regarded. So we obviously get highlights on a Saturday and Sunday on Match of the Day with our dear friend Mr. Lineker. And he always gets picked up, but quite rightly so. He's happened to have been one of my midfielders in my fantasy team, and he is scoring an absolute bucket load of points. So I am more than happy with Mr. Fernando. Thank you very much. Long may he take the penalties. Long may he keep on creating chances, and he'll almost definitely be up for Player of the Season. It will be very surprising if he's not one of the 5 nominated at the end of this year. And he must have a good chance of winning it because Van Dijk's not been around. He's normally a shooter for that. And De Bruyne has also been playing well. But there's no doubt he's carried you guys. Without Fernandes, you would be having as bad a season as us.
Andy, give us your thoughts on that game and the tale of two halves, or the tale of 2/3, if you
I think the lineup that they wrote out at the beginning, West Ham can expect to get a point at least from that lineup, and then you bring on, I think Rashford came on with Bruno Fernando. Excuse me, and it was almost like a wake up call, like, oh yeah, that's what world class players look like, and that's what they can do. You add Bruno kind of single-handedly, but I think Rashford also stretched things out. I think it was kind of more on the left wing, and he has a lot of issues as well. But that was like a big wake-up call. Like, shit, like West Ham still has a long way to go before we can kind of compete with a player like that, with a club that has players like that. They can come off the bench and completely change a game. Because initially, I mean, West Ham dominated, honestly, that first half, and it was all West Ham's fault for not scoring 2 or 3 goals. Of course, it was entirely possible that with the way Bruno came on and how he was playing, if West Ham has put away 2, they might have scored 3 in the second half. If West Ham scored 3, they might have scored 4. I mean, just it looked a completely different game once Bruno came on, and it was like, yeah, okay, we didn't, we're not there yet, and I don't think we might ever be there. I don't think we will. That's totally fine.
Well, Andy, we want to thank you for coming on and joining us.
Thanks, Andy.
We hope you have you on and get a chance. Andy, before you go, you actually really do this. So where can people who want to follow you find your work?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. My name's Andy Kuska, but the @ is AFKOSTKA. I report on anything. I covered Washington tonight, covered some Ravens. So just follow me on Twitter and give me a hard time if you feel like it. I'm totally fine with that.
All right, we'll have you back soon to talk some more West Ham, and maybe we'll even give you a shot at talking the U.S. men's national team with us someday.
Sounds good.
All right. That's serious pain right there, brother.
Yeah, you want to talk about pain. So, Matt, before I let you go, give me some predictions for this week coming up.
I don't know about predictions, man. Sean's put some hex on me. I looked at
it's my fault.
The funny thing was we only missed one.
That was a big one.
You were telling me about some guru that keeps on winning in the playoffs.
Wait,
New England?
Wait a second. No. Because he may have said that I called Columbus. I know I called Columbus. I got Seattle. So of the ones that I needed to get, I got 2 or 3. So I'm happy. I was 60%.
I did say Seattle was going to be in the final. I did say Seattle was going to be in the final, but as soon as I saw Kansas City lost, I was like, oh, God, Sean's going to
that was the one that we messed. That was the only one that we messed up on, because other than that, we were right.
Seattle are still playing. They're playing now.
Yeah.
But they haven't got through yet, have they?
No, they could still be playing now, but I at least said Seattle was going to win. I said Columbus was going to win. I whiffed on. You've got 2 out of 3 working for you, and in the United States, that ain't bad.
Okay. Well, strangely enough, I've been, just as a little aside, I was very impressed by our Spanish correspondent and their description of how well Atletico were doing. So in the UK, there's a little double on Liverpool and Atletico at this point, at this stage of the season. Is 5-1, which is I thought was quite generous, really. So I've gone. I've done it. I'm in. So there we go. Liverpool for the Premier League and Atletico for the La Liga.
All right.
Obviously, both outcomes have
Mike, just a quick prediction. I'm gonna be honest. I'm really nervous. Cavani's out. Martial's out. I know a draw and we're in, so I think I'm going to say that. I think we get a draw. I think we Ole talked about we have to get on the front foot. We can't go down. Go out for a 1-0 win, or a 0-0 draw. I think we go up a goal, and I think RBL scores in the second half, and we're holding on. And I'm just, to be an optimist, which I shouldn't be. I think we get the draw and we come in second in the group. I think PSG obliterates the other team in Istanbul.
All right, Matt, we'll have you back probably next week because you seem to be on every week, which is fine with me.
Yep.
So we'll have you back on next week. All right.
All right, Matt.
Well, gentlemen, I have got to bring this show to an end. And I think the world will be better for it if we actually do that, because the less that they have to deal with, I think 2 hours of this is a lot for people.
a lot for us.
It's a lot for us, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you were actually sitting around and listening to this buffoonery, or let alone watching it,
Depends on the quality of the whiskey you're
I
drinking.
mean, it depends on the quality. And that brings us to our latest sponsor, beer, because it is the only way that we actually make sense. All right, parting shots as we get out the door. London Sean, in your Santa mask and your jacket, and what are you going to come out in like a full body Eskimo suit next time?
Yeah, probably. I just saw Jack go past, by the way. So,
Jack Frost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's my parting shot? I think that you are going to have, sadly, a disappointing Tuesday. Well, UK Tuesday.
No, it's still Tuesday in the United States.
It's still Tuesday as well. I have a feeling that Leipzig are going to just get past you. I think that we will see the other English teams progress if they haven't already progressed. And I quite honestly at this stage, I don't know if I'm looking forward to our week ahead. I don't think we'll have too many problems against Dundalk, but we've got a very, very big game on, I presume it's Sunday we're playing Stead, is it? It must be if we're playing on Thursday. Yeah, that's my parting shot. I moved into this weekend with great trepidation, but obviously hope as strong as it always has been. But I do think that you might have a bit of a rough exit from Europe this week, Mike.
Now, you said that it's cold over there. You did say it would be a cold day in hell when Spurs led the Premier League.
Oh, God, yeah. I did, you're right.
That
explains it all now.
That might explain it.
All. Yeah.
Stead, what you got for us?
Well, it's not a fun time to be an Arsenal fan, but I can say that I still love the Premier League more than anything else. And I was kind of just sitting around over the weekend watching games, and I'm happy to say it looks like my early end of last season prediction might be coming true because Sheffield dropped yet another game. And I can say that there's one player that Arsenal did not sign that I wish they probably did, and they should have done harder. Jamie Vardy is still one of the best attacking players in the Premier League right now. And I will say, I think he is underrated. He gets cold sometimes, but man, that guy is a sniper. And if ever he is running at a defender and at a goalie, that has to be the scariest sight for a center half, is to see a streaking Jamie Vardy with the ball or without the ball running at your goalkeeper, because he is very, very, very good. He's still very good. And, I applaud him as a player for staying at Leicester and sticking it out. And even though that he could have easily gone to a bigger club and been a starter. So I think that, I'm going to throw some love to Jamie Vardy. I'm a fan of his. I'm never been one to hide that. So I applaud the way he ended up that Sheffield. He didn't have a good game, but man, just boom, it stuck it in him. So thank you, Jamie Vardy, for keeping my prediction alive. I have to start probably putting a little bit of action down, because as long as it's not Arsenal, I seem to be doing okay. So that's my party shot for the day. Big game too coming up too. Andy, I'm not sure you're gonna listen to this, but West Ham leads on Friday. That's what I'll be doing after work.
Big shouts out to 22-year-old George Russell, driving and filling in for Lewis Hamilton, who had COVID. And we hope Lewis had a speedy recovery. But the 22-year-old filled in for Lewis, jumped into the 44 Mercedes, and had probably the drive of his life until a tire puncture in a botched pit cost him the lead. But I want to give the man credit for fitting all 6'2" of his frame into 5'8" Lewis Hamilton's cockpit. And he said that every time he got out of that car, they had to put him in a full ice bath just to cheat all the bruises. And he had to wear shoes that were 2 sizes too small just so he could control the pedals. Full credit to him. All right. So as we hit the bricks, I want to give a big shout out to El Hadji Fall for coming on and talking about Senegalese football and sharing his thoughts on Papa Bouba Diop. Big shout out to Leo the Italian for coming on and giving us his version of life in Madrid and Serie A. Big thanks to Coach G and Los for joining us to talk about the North London Derby. And our another new guest, Andy the Hammer, coming on and talking a little bit of West Ham with Coach Matt. And as always, a big shout to London Sean for waking up early on this frosty morning and coming and joining us. And to my partner in crime, the producer, Mr. Stead, for somehow organizing.
What happened to the Scottish correspondent, the Celtic fan? He's disappeared.
We'll get him back. We'll get him back. We'll get Cam back. No worries about that. But and when I say organize, I put that in air quotes because if anybody actually organizes this stuff, it'll be a completely different show and I won't have a job. But for all of that, we stink. We still know we do. I'm Mike. This has been the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. We did okay this week. We'll come up with something different next week.
Mm-hmm.
Peace.
Peace.